Truce! Stop! Stop! Nej, venstre!
I grew up, with my father experienced the downfall of sheep farming, and I hear the voices all over the country that it sucks and it's some shit, but nobody really does anything to change it. And I think why not? I grew up here in Saxon, in a farmhouse, and I think I think myself that it's a privilege. I grew up also in a time where I sort of got a feeling of the old life, how it used to be, the farming with all the family and using the old tools before we used machinery for everything. So it was quite a, interesting and educational life where we got in touch with nature a lot, but still we had connection with the modern world, if you can call it that. So being a child here was I don't know, I can't imagine it being any better than that. They said in the old days that we measured the size of our farms in a unit we call merkur. The size of the farm depended on how profitable it was. They said in the old days that for every 2 merkur you would require one male worker. And this combined unit is 25 merkur, so I should have 12 workers helping me in the old way. But
you do it yourself.
Yeah. It's probably only us and one other sheep farm that have it as a full-time employment. I think all the others have some other job. I wouldn't go as far as to say that I'm a modern farmer, but I'm not a traditional farmer. That was also something I said from the very start, that I would like to take over this farm, but I want to make some changes. I'm not going to run it the same way it has been done. If I have to do that, then I'll pass it on to somebody else. We can't completely change everything, because to get something out of the mountains, the old way to have sheep is the only option. In the high mountains, you can't put up fences; they won't last there. So having sheep there, as we always have done, is the only way to do it. While the lower areas, we can make some radical changes. But it requires a lot of fences to do it. To introduce a rotational grazing system, it should give a better production or higher production, but it's expensive to get there. The other guy down at the house, he's a milk producer here. It's his field. This is part of my income. It's sort of a niche business, removing stones from the ground. Hallo, det är Jóhan. Ja, hej. Ja? Jag skjuter i allt. Yeah, well, it's really difficult to make any planning at all. It's the same for me and all the other farmers that the summer is extremely bad. It has been raining all the spring, and now we're starting to panic. We have to do whatever we can do, even though it would be better to wait if we have a few more dry days, but we just can't take the risk. It has to be done.
Det är faktiskt bara och så runt jag med en håll tvärs jöknon, men det är också harst tillfälle. Ja, nämligen.
I can sleep in the winter. Slept 3 hours last night.
Det här var det.
It was sheep farms that sustained the family in the old days, but the economy has dropped so much, so all sheep farmers have a normal job, and then they have the sheep on the side. And a lot of people, I think, enjoy that with the smaller farms, but when they get relatively big, it's a too big work burden or labor burden to have after normal work. So I think a lot of those guys, are interested in letting the farms go. He's my older brother, so he has the advantage. It could have been him. He didn't have the interest, and he was wise enough to say it. They changed the law, so now it's possible to sell and buy farms. That was not an option in the old days. So now everything can happen. And we see a lot of examples of farmers who are taken over because they are supposed to, more or less. They don't really have the interest, or they just don't want to see it leave the family, and they don't want to be the one that abandoned the farm. I would of course like to see my children take over after me, but I also wouldn't like to see them do it if they didn't have a passion for it. So I think that's required. But some decisions you have to make would have been better based if you had the full knowledge before. It's a lot of it is from childhood experiences, and I think also a lot of it is the way of thinking. If you're open to change, then I think everybody could do it, yes.
Stay.